pink. Think pink when you shop for summer clothes. Think pink. Think pink if you want that kelp that shows. Red is dead, blue is through, green's obscene, brown's taboo, and there is not the slightest excuse for plum abuse or chartreuse. Think pink.
G'day, gorgeous. So this week I've been talking to lots of people about the fact that I'm writing another book. Yeah, I know, right? But I keep talking to people about the impact of trauma in their life, and even I was talking to a specialist last week about, some stuff of my own, and she said, so when are you going to write a book about trauma? And I'm like, actually funny you should ask, because that's what I'm doing now. But one of the things that came out about that, because I'm trying to come up with this diagram that I've been trying to sort of, get down for the book, because I think it's the premise of understanding why these things are so important. And in essence, my theory around all of this is that our primary emotional need, our number one thing that we all need in life and strive for, is connection. And so I talk about why connection is so important and what happens when we have disconnection. And in essence, our whole life, we seek to connect. As human beings, we want to try and connect with other people, first with our parents and our siblings and extended family, and then we go to school and it's our school friends, and all of these different points of connection that we have over the course of our life. And it's the connection that's actually the bit that makes us feel good about ourselves or not. So when I talk about it in my book, so in Define Your Inner Diva, I talk about the need to connect with self, our understanding that our negative belief system develops because of how we feel about self, and that we need to resolve that before we can actually get the relationships that we want, the career success that we're looking for, the financial independence that we're after, that we can get our health and well-being under control. And at the end of the day, when we've done all of those things, we need to look to spirit to keep replenishing. So when I go back to it, it's kind of like, okay, so how did the self stuff develop? Why don't we feel good about who we are as people? It's because we didn't get the connection that we needed as children, or we didn't get the connection in the way that we were expecting to get it. And that's where trauma comes in. So trauma really is the essence of disconnection. So if you think about the things in your life that are traumatic, when you think about them, the things that make you feel bad about yourself, or the things that make you feel that maybe you were rejected, that's the trauma. The trauma is actually the disconnection. It's the feeling that maybe you'll be rejected, or that perhaps you were actually abandoned, and that's the sense of disconnection. So when we can't get full connection the way that we really want to, then we look to change the way that we connect with other people. So our primary experience from childhood, in the way that we got connected with parents or not, so if we connected really strongly with parents and almost this enmeshed, really tight knit, everything that you do, your mum was kind of, are you going to be okay? Like, she was either nervous and protective, or she was making you emotionally responsible for how she felt, or alternatively, nobody seemed to care whether you were, there or not, and in fact, your presence in their life was a little bit avoidant. Those different things are going to impact how you then choose to connect going forward in your life. So if you think about how you were either unable to get that connection with your parents, or how the connection didn't feel like it was, good, or it didn't feel like it was secure, right? Or it felt like it was so secure that you couldn't actually do anything for yourself or think differently in any way for yourself, that's going to lead you to a place where you then go into your adult relationships, and usually you'll want to kind of cling tight to people. Unless you have a lot of negative experiences where you've been clinging tight to people and they leave you anyway, then your attitude will be a little bit of, okay, keep everybody at a distance, right? But you keep everybody at a distance because you feel that you can't really trust that people are going to stay around. So it's really interesting, because I'm sitting there going, our primary emotional need is for connection. Now, some of you might realize, like, you may have heard of Brene Brown, and I talk about Brene Brown's vulnerability talk in my book. And one of the things about when she talks, if you haven't seen it, please go to her TED talk and have a look at about vulnerability. When she talks about vulnerability, she talks about the wholehearted, and the wholehearted as this group of people, and what makes them, you know, the wholehearted and prepared to kind of live their life really fully, is that they're prepared to allow themselves to be seen as vulnerable. What does the vulnerability do? It allows them to form connections, right? So yes, it's about being vulnerable, but it's actually about opening yourself up to being connected to other people, even if it means that you have to expose yourself for some of the things about you that you might think maybe other people might reject you for. Does that make sense? So that sense of disconnection can come if you feel that maybe they won't accept you for just the way you are, and that something about that connection would be impacted, right? So she says it's about their willingness to be vulnerable, that we need to be vulnerable. That's how the wholehearted live. But the wholehearted are prepared to be vulnerable, but their main drive is about ensuring connection, and they ensure connection in any way that they can to make sure that they can live their fullest life. So that's where I talk about, you want to live your most luscious life. Living your most luscious life means opening yourself up to connection, and recognizing that sometimes when we open ourselves up to that feeling, that we can expect along the way we might feel abandoned or rejected by other people. And that's the basis of trauma. All right, so it might be a bit heavy for some of you, but I thought that I should just share it because I'm, you know, working on it at the moment, and it seems to resonate with a lot of people to help them understand why they feel the way they do. All right, I hope that was useful, and if it was useful, well, you know what to do. You can always share this around, and I will see you soon.
Pink for cheeks and pink at your lips, pink for shirts and all of your slips, just a touch of pink at your knees, and if you please, what? Pink chemise.